The biggest performance killer these days when I'm looking at an organization is oftentimes not technology. It's not even organization design, but the lack of shared viewpoint. Time and time again, we walking into a company, you ask, what is the strategy or what is the most important priority of an organization? You ask 30 people, you get 35 answers. That is the biggest killers. Because for us to navigate the uncertainty and the unknowable world with speed, one single version of truth, shared viewpoint, is absolutely critical.
The biggest performance killer I see in organizations today is a radical instrumentality. I believe that we are only here to make the machine run smoothly and economically. And then what happens is we leave so much of our creativity, of our energy outside of the workplace. And what leaders should do about it is to make sure that they embrace a broader definition of performance. See, when we think about performance, we often think, are we getting the stuff done that we say we're going to get done? But there's another meaning of the word performance, which is the word performance the way an artist understands it. Are we bringing to life an idea, a principle, a set of values that we care about?
I think about every single thing I do at work on this value chart. Every dot is something I do, a meeting, a project, a task. And the vertical axis is how much value I'm creating at work, while the horizontal axis is how much effort, how much time, how much money. And we assume that every single thing we do at work is creating value, right? We mean well, we try hard, but that is not true. Because I can draw a line right down the middle of this chart. Now, everything that's a red dot is something that takes more time and effort to do than the value it creates. This is what I call zombies. Does that make sense? Can you feel zombie in your stomach right now? You're like, I know what she's talking about. Yes? It is any use of our time and resources that don't produce enough value in return. I bet there is a project in your workplace that we had high hopes for. It's gonna be the best. And it has not been the best. And yet we are still doing it. Why? Why? Because we said we would. There is a rule or a process inside your organization that was created by someone who is no longer there. And we are still doing it. Why? And if you've never been zombie hunting, I promise you, there is a meeting at your workplace that has way too many people invited, has no agenda, and could have been an email.
I think as leaders, our job is to think, are my employees working to benefit the customer in some way, or are they working for the bureaucracy? And to think about whether we're doing things just for internal memos and reasons versus are their behaviors actually benefiting our customers in some way? And if I ask myself that question, it becomes much easier to trim down what people are doing. You have to create the psychological safety in your organization for people to say, is this necessary? Do you need me at this meeting? Is it okay if I just send my AI assistant to listen and tell me if there's anything important? We have to create that kind of an environment where we as leaders are open to saying, this isn't the best use of everybody's time.
I think if there's one misconception that leaders have today about, building high performance organizations and teams is that technology is going to solve everything. Today, we already see a disappointment happening in the world of AI where people just bought Copilot licenses and it doesn't actually work. The idea that technology alone is going to build more productive teams doesn't work. You have to completely rethink the very fabric of work and what you want to achieve. Then you can only have success.
Ease, attachment, and risk aversion are the three horsemen of inertia. All of those things hold back change from happening. How can we move people forward with all those headwinds? How can we get people to change even when there are whole many things holding them back? And so as I mentioned, usually when we think about changing minds and driving action, we think about a particular set of approaches. And that's something I would call pushing. And what do I mean by that? We think if we just push a little harder, people will change. And it's clear why we think pushing works. There's a chair in the middle of a room, and we want to get it to go. Well, pushing is a great way to do that. But think about the last time someone pushed you. Think about the last time someone tried to get you to do something, or even worse, think about the last time you tried to get someone else to do something. Think about what happened. When you pushed someone, what did they do? They pushed back. They dug in their heels. They resisted. And so if pushing doesn't work, what does? Well, there's a really nice analogy here to be made to chemistry. Chemical change is really hard. Think about carbon being squeezed together into a diamond. Think about plant matter being turned into oil over eons of time. Now in the lab, chemists can't wait that long. There's a special set of substances that chemists often use that make change happen faster and easier. And these substances very simply are called catalysts. Now, when we think about the word catalyst in our social world, we often say, well, so-and-so was a catalyst, or this thing was a catalyst. And what do we usually mean? We mean, well, this was the thing that came along right before change occurred. But in chemistry, catalysts actually have a very specific meaning. They don't just create and enable change, they allow change to happen with less energy, not more. They identify the barriers or roadblocks that are getting in the way and figure out how to mitigate them. And so that same insight can be applied to our social world. Rather than saying, well, hey, what could I do to get this person or group to change? We need to ask a subtly, but importantly different question. Why hasn't this person changed already? What's stopping them? What are the barriers or obstacles that are getting in the way, and how by mitigating those barriers or obstacles can we make change more likely?
You know, I think what's interesting is how trends change over time. So take something like celebrity spokespeople. You know, many, many years ago, 1950s, 1960s, that trend started. Originally, I think it was quite persuasive. People said, wow, there's this person I know, they're so famous, they like this product. But after people saw it enough times, they started to say, well, wait, maybe this person got paid. I'm not necessarily going to trust them as much. More recently, the same with digital influencers, right? The first time someone talked about something online because they got paid, I think it was quite trusted. Over time, people have become more savvy. And so that's often true in every domain. Consumers, customers become more savvy. They recognize what influence attempts look like. And so we'll see as Gen AI evolves, will people trust it as much as they trust traditional sort of approaches, or will they wonder about its veracity and cause to trust it less? Sometimes I think that leaders think that marketing is about sales or advertising, but everyone has a customer. We're always trying to sell something to some sort of audience, whether it be a true customer or consumer, whether it be a colleague or a board, always trying to sell an idea or a product or service to someone. And so the question is, who is that customer and how can we better understand them? Sometimes online they focus only on the number of followers or friends or social connections. Or on a video, they might focus on the number of views. Those aren't terrible signals, but they also aren't the best signals, right? It's really about engagement. How many people are sharing something? We don't just want someone to be connected to us or even to look at something. We want them to pass it on, to engage with it. It's about understanding the science behind why people talk, why they share, and how to use that to get our stuff to catch on. And Contagious, for example, I talk about the 6 key steps to driving sharing, and each of those is a helpful psychological principle that gets information to be passed on. Often in organizations, for example, we encourage us talking about our successes. And so I've been in meetings where people talk about how successful an initiative was or how successful a launch was. If you peel back the details a little bit, it's often not as successful as they like to talk about. And so if we only encourage talking about successes, if we only reward successes, we can actually undermine actual success. And so we need to be willing to talk about failure. We need to be willing to share those situations where things didn't go as well, or data that doesn't actually support what we want. By sharing actually what's happening, we can reach better outcomes.